Hi, Rabbi.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You can, okay. I've been having some problems with my internet. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get everything to work and everything to share and everything to work. So please forgive me. We are a little bit challenged with the technology, but hopefully it'll work. Okay, you can see the mimer, I hope.
Yes.
You better. All right, last week we talked about how Haman wanted to reach a level where it doesn't really matter. Good and evil don't really matter because it's above the will. God willed to create a world. God willed to create a world where good is good and evil is evil, where the light of Hashem shines where there's good, and the light of Hashem is hidden where there's evil. And good overcomes evil in the long run, and the Jewish people receive their blessings from Hashem. And wicked people in the long run cannot overcome the Jewish people and cannot beat the Jewish people. But there is a level that is above the will, where before the will came about, that God willed such a world, there's a level where the will isn't even there yet. On that level, nothing exists yet, nothing matters. I'm going to give you an analogy. You know how you look up on a cloudy day and you say the sun is not shining? Has anyone ever said that? You look up on a cloudy day, you say there's no sunshine today. Is the sun really not shining? The sun's shining. But we don't see it because the clouds are hiding it. Now let me ask you another question. Does the sun care whether there's clouds or not? But the sun doesn't care. But assuming that the sun, from the perspective of the sun, does it make a difference to the sun whether there's clouds on earth or not? The sun is the sun. The rays of the sun are affected by what happens, whether it's cloudy or not. If it's cloudy, the rays of the sun don't come to the earth the way they usually do. And by the way, sometimes on a partly cloudy day, you can get much more sunburn. I learned the hard way when I was younger. But anyway, the rays of the sun are affected, the clouds, as they come to the world. But above the clouds, it makes absolutely no difference. And the sun itself, for sure, makes no difference. It's not a perfect analogy, because we're talking about Hashem that is above the sun, and Hashem is not physical. But it's at least a way to think about it. So there's a point at which it doesn't matter whether this Hashem's light is hidden, Hashem's light is revealed. God's light, it does shine, doesn't shine, doesn't make any difference. Good, bad, doesn't make any difference. So that's what Haman wanted. That's why Haman drew lots, because he figured that on that level, he would be able to accomplish. He knew that the Jews had not been serving Hashem. They had strayed from Hashem. Therefore, he felt that he would be able to tap into that level and bring destruction to the Jewish people, God forbid. We still have the question, though. We haven't answered the question. Why is that the main name of the holiday? Purim. Purim means the lots, drawing the lots. It was Haman's lots. And how is that what we're celebrating? How are we celebrating Purim, the festival of lots? He wasn't successful in the lots, okay. But his purpose was to reach that level of lottery in a negative way. So why is the holiday called lots? We haven't answered that question. Before we get to that question, answer that question, we're going to go a little bit further into the concept, which I told you last week. We will talk this week about why why was he not successful? If he reached the level of lots where it doesn't matter good and bad, why indeed was he not successful? I said last week that it was a foregone conclusion that he wouldn't be successful, and that's not exactly accurate. I thought about it later. It's a foregone conclusion that he can be thwarted. It was the Jewish people's tshuva, the Jewish people's return to Hashem, that caused him to be thwarted, but his idea was a good one from his perspective, but didn't work, as we'll see today. Okay. Any questions or comments before we go on? We're going to go, I told you this is a deep mystical journey. And sometimes people ask, why are we learning all this mystical stuff? Why are we learning stuff which is up in the heavens, and what's the connection with us? So first of all, the answer is if you're here, you're obviously interested in mystical. Third of all, it opens up a whole new world to us. It shows us this stuff out there that we have no concept of, that it really opens it up. And in addition to that, it'll show us at the end, we'll see how Purim, how it affects us on Purim, and how Purim is a different holiday from what we thought it was. Okay. Yesh Lomar, can you still see the?
Yes, we can see the screen share.
Anybody there? Can you hear me?
We could see the screen
Oh, you
share, now
can.
we can't.
Yeah, I know. It's going to come back in a second, I think. Oh, I have to call. Whatchamacallit.
Do you want me to put it up?
No, it's easier for me because I'm actually following along with it. But I got it back. So I have to call Comcast, but not a chance. Okay. V'yesh lomar, we could say the hatam al zeh, that the reason for this, shehaman hipil pur, that Haman needed to draw lots, bechdei lahagia lebchinat hagaral shalamala mehishtalshalut. Rabbi is now asking a question. Last week, I glossed over it and went through it very quickly. But if you recall, we learned about Achashverosh. We said that everything in this physical world has mystical called Achashverosh. It refers to Hashem that Acharit Vereshit Shalom, the beginning of him. That is referring to the essence of Hashem. And because we said that there is quiet, that means there is Hashem hide himself, and therefore it translates into this world, into the man Achashverosh, as a wicked anti-Semite. But its original source, the spiritual source, is Acharit V'Reshit Shalom. The beginning and the end is his. I'll share it again, just a second. I was talking about darkness that comes out through Hashem's silence. So here we go. We got some darkness there. Okay. So the question the Rebbe is addressing now is, Achashverosh himself, is the level of beginning and end is the same, is his. Beginning and end is his, meaning is above the beginning and the end. Afsha'az, in the days of Achashverosh, Haitaha Hanhaga, Hashem was running the world at that time, mitzad lamala meishtalshalos, the revelation that was happening at that time was a revelation that was above, was above the chain of creation. So in that case, why did Haman have to go for the lots? He already had Achashverosh, the revelation of Achashverosh, which is beginning and end are his. It makes no difference. This is the question. Now, we're talking about here layers upon layers upon layers. If you think about it, it's very hard to imagine in physical terms, but we have to imagine in physical terms. We have circles, inside circles, inside circles. You have the circle of Hashem surrounding the world. Above that, you have a circle that is above that, and you have a circle that is above that, many different layers. So we talked about there's the creation, there's the will, Ratzon, that brings about the creation. There's the owner of the will, which is We said the goral, the lot. That means that he submits his will to the lottery. So we're talking about the owner of the will that is above the will. Here he's saying, but wait a second, isn't Achashverosh on that level? We said that the idea of the lottery is good and bad are equal. There is no good and bad because it's all the same. It's before the will, before creation, before everything. Isn't that the level of Achashverosh? So you already have Achashverosh. Haman should not have needed to draw a lottery. He already could have just tapped in because he went and he was working with Achashverosh. Achashverosh already was a manifestation of that level of godliness where there is no beginning and no end. Do you understand the question? More or less. So this is a bit of a tangent, and we're going to get back to the main point soon. So bear with me. Another piece in the puzzle. Lefi shebechinat hagoral hulamala yoter gam mebchinat achashverosh misha acharit v'reshit shelo. And the reason I'm going to go into this is because we're going to now learn a very, very important principle in Hasidus. What are the origins of the Jewish soul? We talked about the chain of creation. Where does the Jewish soul come from? So we generally talk about the Jewish soul coming from Atzilot. Why did God choose the Jewish people to be his people? Why are we his holy people? What did we do to deserve to be God's holy people? Did we do nice things? So you would say that Abraham chose Hashem, right? Abraham lived in a time of idol worship. You can all hear me, I hope. Yes, not if you can hear me.
Yes.
Abraham lived in a time of idol worship and he chose Hashem and he was a kind, etc. That's all very good. But there is a medrash that says, and the Talmud says, that Abraham was chosen right in the very beginning of creation. That Abraham was chosen by Hashem to be his chosen one at the beginning. It says in the Torah, Eilodat Hashemayim v'aretz behi bar'am. And I don't have it to show, and it'll take me too long to show it. But behi bar'am, this is the second chapter of Bereshit. It says, this is the heavens and the earth. Behi bar'am, when they were created, and behi bar'am is the same letters that.
We lost you, Rabbi.
Chosen by Hashem.
Rabbi, we lost you.
So there's something that's going on
we lost
beyond what.
We lost you for 5 seconds.
And so there's something that's going on here.
We lost you at Hibaram.
Yeah, so Behi Bar'am, which means this is the story of the creation of heaven and earth, Behi Bar'am, when they were created. The word Behi Bar'am is the same letters as the word Ba'avraham. And the Talmud says that God chose Abraham from the moment of creation. Had Abraham not taken on the role that Hashem chose for him, the world would not have existed. So that means that the choice of Abraham was before Abraham chose Hashem. There's something about the choice of the Jewish people. Another thing, we say that Bachar Banu, God chose us from all the nations. What does choice mean? We're going to get into this later. What is the true choice? I want to ask you if you can tell me, if I go to a car dealership, I need to buy a car. And I don't know which car to choose. So I sit down with the although nowadays we don't do that. We do the research first, and then we go to the car dealership. So I sit down with the on the internet, and I start identifying all the different features of the different types of cars. I look at the colors. I look at the features. This one has this one has that, this one costs more, this one costs less. And I come to a choice and I choose that I want to buy this particular car in this particular color because it fits my needs. Did I make a choice? Why do you say no?
Well, because you've already made the choice that you're going to buy a car. So this
Yeah,
is,
but I had to
just-
choose. But I had to choose which car. So my choice to choose this car over that car, is that a choice or is that not a choice?
I still don't think it's a choice.
Why not?
Because I don't know.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this question?
Because
Yes,
it's
Jay.
not equal. You,
Yeah, they're equal. I mean,
Okay, Yaakov, go ahead. And Jane wanted to say, but Yaakov, go ahead, finish your thought.
yeah, well, once you look at the car, you already are biased toward a certain situation. So it's not really exactly the same. You're already deciding. So the choice is usually when everything is exactly identical, you make a choice between which one you want. But if they're not identical, then you're really prejudiced toward one particular one or another.
Okay, very good. Jane, what do you want to say?
Well, I was going to say that you're making a comparison to, at the least, between what you see in that car and what you had in mind that you want. And, or you may be comparing cars with various models and things with each other. So it seems like if you're making a comparison and you have free will, you are doing a choice.
Okay. Zhenya,
Define choice.
what do you want to say? What was that?
Define
Okay,
choice.
so that's the question. Very good. That's the point. The point is, what is the definition of choice? The English language, as we've said many times, is a very, very poor, inferior language. Any languages compared to the Torah, compared to the Hebrew language, which is Hashem's language. The word choice in English means I chose it because of X, Y, and Z. If it's because of anything, it's not truly a choice. When we talk about choice in not a decision.
We lost you again for 5 seconds.
If I choose that car because it has the features I want, a choice is not a decision. A decision is not a choice. In Hebrew, the word bechira, which means a choice, means something that you have absolutely no logical reason to choose it. You just choose it. So the definition of choice in the case of the car would be, if I identify the color, the model, all the features I want, I go into the dealership, and at the dealership, there are two identical vehicles which have the color and the features exactly the same. Then I choose one over the other. That's a choice. Because that's true choice. It's not a decision that's made because of, if I like apples and not oranges, and I choose an apple to eat an apple, not an orange, that's not a choice. That's a decision I make because I like apples, like Yaakov said. But if I have two identical apples exactly the same, I chose one over the other. Why? It's a choice. So so the idea is that Hashem chose the Jewish people just because, not because of something we did or something we earned. Hashem chose the Jewish people. And we're going to see how that works and how that plays into the whole idea of the lottery and how that undermined, that superseded Haman's idea. Because Haman knew that there is a level at which it doesn't matter. They're identical. Before the will, they're identical. And that's what Haman wanted to go. But there's different levels of identical also. He explains. This is the explanation. If we talk about godliness on the level of the beginning and the end is his, this shows us there is such a thing as beginning, there is such a thing as the end, but for God, there's no difference between beginning and end. But that means there is beginning and end. To beginning and end. There's some definition. This is called the beginning, this is called the end. But to me, it doesn't make a difference. I'm sorry about the internet. I don't know. Anyway, but let me know again if you lose me. This is the, all right. One more time here. So in other words, if you say that there is a beginning and an end, that means that there is a difference between them. Ella, Shehem Shavin Lagabei, but they're both equal to Hashem, they're both equal. This will take a moment to reshare. And by the way, the Rebbe says in parentheses here, the whole thing, he says that Achashverosh, who ruled over the entire world, why did he rule over the entire world? Because he was plugged in a negative way to that spiritual level where there's no beginning and no end. So he ruled over the whole world. And when he made a party for everybody, but still he made a party first for everybody else, and then made a special party for people of Shushan, for his officers. So there was a different treatment between them. So that's the level where there's a difference. There is a beginning, there is an end, but Hashem doesn't care. When we talk what Haman was tapping into, was the level of lottery. Higher than that. When the level of lottery, we're talking of lottery, there is no beginning and there's no end. Everything, it's not like there's two differences and they're the same. There's no difference, there's no beginning and no end. Well, how do we know that? Kamuvam, as we understand, mizeh from this, shahagaral hu b'shnei dvarim shavim, as we said at the beginning of the Maimer, that the goral, the lottery is between two equal things. When you have a lottery, it's because you have two things that are equal, and you draw a lot. So if I go to the car dealership, and I have no idea which one of them I'm supposed to pick, so I write the license plate on one piece of paper, and the other license plate on another piece of paper, I drop them in a box, pick out one, that's the one I'm going to take. So there's absolutely no difference between them. There isn't a beginning and end. There isn't a first one and a second one. There isn't a better one and a worse one, and I'm choosing this one. There's no difference at all. That is what a lottery is. This concept that we said, that there are certain things, there is a beginning and an end, an up and a down, but they're all the same on some level. And the lottery is even a higher level. He says, just as it is in those matters of beginning and end, meaning up and down. The same it is with holiness and impurity. On the level of Achashverosh, when we're talking about this mystical level of Achashverosh, there is a difference between holy and unholy. Because Hashem is so high, so much above it all, it doesn't really, how do you say in English, Michal, tofes makom? It doesn't have any relevance.
Yeah.
Doesn't
have any relevance. And therefore, and I'm going to explain this in a moment. This is why it's possible for the impurity to get some life from the holiness. To the extent that even the Jewish people's faces became black, which is one reason why he's called Achashverosh, is a terrible situation. So this is, now let's get to this again. There is an order of things. The order of things where Hashem created the world is Hashem's light gives life to the world, to everything. That means where there is God's light, there's life. Where God has hidden his light and removed his light, something that is against God's will, is impurity, is evil, is bad. How can evil exist? Everything was created by Hashem, by the light of God. And the light of God only shines where there is holiness. How does evil even exist? And the answer is Because on the level, on the source of everything, before Ratzon, before the will, when God created the chain of creation, where good is good and bad is bad, before that, there is good and bad, but everything is all mixed up. Everything is all the same. Good is good, bad is good. It doesn't matter. On that level, it doesn't really make a difference. It says that if we do a mitzvah, it affects all of the worlds. But on some level, the essence of God, it doesn't affect it. It's like, again, going back to the mashal, the analogy of the clouds hiding the sun. The sun's not affected by what the clouds do. The essence of God is not affected by a person committing a sin. And that's why it's possible to have Hitlers in the world and Hitlers to succeed. Why? On some level. That's up to a point. And that's why in the world there are people who are very evil and very successful in the physical way that we consider people successful. Why? Because God's light, which originates from above the chain of creation, can shine anywhere because it doesn't make a difference. That's how we say that the evil comes from Tohu. Tohu is, on some level, is above these worlds. We've learned about this before. And therefore, from Tohu, you can get evil. That's how evil exists. So on the level of Achashverosh, the beginning and the end is equal, and it gives an analogy. The Talmud says, actually not the Talmud, it's in the Tanakh. Let me see where it is. In Mishlei. In Proverbs, it says that a spider can easily be caught by hand, but it hangs around in the king's palace. A king doesn't bother to tell someone to go after it's beneath the king's dignity, not just beneath the king's dignity. The king is happy, the king has everything he needs, it's very powerful. The king doesn't mind if there's a spider running around, because the king doesn't bother about these things. So the same thing it is, in the level of that level of holiness above the chain of creation, godliness is not affected, God's light is not affected by good or evil, and therefore evil is able to exist. Jay.
I didn't understand the part where you were saying why there can be bad and evil. Could you explain that in a different way? And also sort of cut out on part of it.
Yes, let's say, trying to think of an analogy. A parent will not give their kids two candies. Maybe they'll give them one. Let's say parents will. The parents are very much involved in the kid's life day to day. Are you hearing me?
Now,
Lost
yeah.
you, but then we got you back.
Parents care about the day to day. It is their job and their responsibility to see to it that the kids eat healthy. So therefore, they limit what they'll give the kids. Grandparents, go to grandma's and you get whatever you want. You go raid the candy closet, and before your parents get here, you've eaten half the candies. Why don't the grandparents care? Because the grandparents, they care, but the grandparents are not into the day-to-day health of the kids. You know, they figure they'll spoil the kids. Because the grandparents are one level removed, so they're not watching the kids every day. They want the kids to be happy. In a way, it's like the light of God, as God creates the worlds and runs the worlds, is very much involved in the day-to-day of the world. And therefore, good is good, bad is bad. But God is a benevolent God that comes from, and God created the world. God created the good and created the bad. It's all God's creation. So therefore, God says, on some level, when you go the running day-to-day of the world level, on that level, oh good life. It's like, you know what, also you have it like a person who's extremely kind. And he's so kind that he doesn't have any limits to his kindness. to destroy it. Right?
You kind of. it
Israel
broke
gave
up.
certain of our enemies guns, and then they were shocked when those enemies turned the guns, those very guns, against us. I remember hearing the guns we gave them, they turned it against us. Why did he give them the guns in the first place? Because Israel is we're Jews, we're very kind people. And they thought, they were looking at it from their own perspective, and they thought if we're nice to them, they'll be nice to us. Didn't realize we're talking about absolute evil. So in a way, it's that same idea, not same, it's an analogy. Hashem says, good and bad, I created it all. It's all the same. On the level beyond creation. The world works in a certain way. There is the nature of the world. But above the nature of the world, the light suffuses everything. So, you know what? If a person is fabulously wealthy and someone comes and comes and squats in one of the houses on the other side of the world, they're probably not going to even bother with them. Be there. They're squatters. They're trashing the place. What do I care? Okay, no problem. They let them be there. It's okay. There's something about that, about turning the other way when something evil is happening because you're above it. And that's what we're talking about. But that does not mean on the level where God is okay with evil existing. By the way, we're not going into the whole why evil exists and why did Hashem make it that way, that it's possible for evil to exist. This is a tiny piece of the puzzle. That's another whole discussion, which is there's a reason for it, and Hashem made it that way intentionally. God didn't do anything unintentional. It's all intentional because God wanted us to have free choice and the light out of the darkness, etc. But we're not going there now. I mean, there's lots of reasons to explain. Okay. We're just talking about the fact. But this does not include to destroy the Jews. Because destroying the Jews, there's still a beginning and still an end. There's still a holy and an unholy. And to destroy the Jews, even though God is tolerant of impurity, God is not tolerant of destroying his people. When Haman wanted to destroy all of the Jews, God forbid, may it never happen. It will never happen. Ipil Pur. So he made a lottery. Hagaral, that is the drawing of the lots. Why? We said when it comes to the lottery, there's no difference between holy and unholy. They're both exactly the same. Otherwise, why are you drawing lots? You draw lots on two things that are exactly the same. So there isn't even good and bad. Everything is just one big happy family, one big light, one big existence. Lachain, therefore, Chashav, he thought, that through this, Yuchal Chas v'Shalom, la'apik et zmamo, he thought he'd be able to fulfill his diabolical plot. Because again, you're going up, you have the chain of creation, where holy is holy and unholy is unholy. Then you have the source, then you have the source of it, which is God's will, that good is good and bad is bad. And through that is created good and evil, and the revelation in good and the non-revelation in evil. Then you have the source of that, where there is good and evil both can exist, and God allows for the evil to exist and sometimes has even more strength than the good. And then you go above that, where there is no difference between good and evil. When you have no difference in good and evil, that is the lottery. That is what Haman was trying to access. Why didn't it work? Now we're going to go into why it didn't work. I'm going to stop here for a moment, and anyone else want to say something, ask something? Are you all good with this? You all with it?
I have a question about why it says the Lashmidam Chas v'Shalom. Basically, good and evil are the same, and Jewish people aren't really any different just by good fortune, essentially.
No, on that level, we're not saying that they're not different. I'm not saying on that level of Achashverosh We're saying there's a difference, but Hashem is magnanimous and can give both because he's above it. Like the king that allows the spider to run around in his palace. Because the king says, fine, it's another one of the creatures in my country.
But I'm just drawing a distinction in the logic. I mean, either there's no distinction between good and bad at that level above the Khira or above this world, or there is. And if he says, well, they're equal, but he won't allow.
Using my analogy of candies with kids, the grandparents know that too much candy is not healthy. And too much candy is not healthy, but they allow the kids to have it anyway because they want to be nice to their kids, to their grandkids. The level of goral, candy, and broccoli are equal. It's not even a question of one is good and one is bad, but you can have the bad. It's a question that makes absolutely no difference. In an absolute world, Hashem could have created us that we thrive on candy and broccoli is bad for us. Why is broccoli good for us, for those who think it is, and candy bad for us? Because that's what Hashem decided. Hashem decided our bodies thrive on vegetables and sugar is not good for us. That's the way Hashem created us. Hashem could have created us the other way around. The sugar is great for us and vegetables are bad for us. On that level, there's no difference. So it's not like you're saying, again, on Achashverosh, you're saying there's a difference, but the difference doesn't really matter. Even though there's bad, I'm going to allow the bad to exist. And I'm going to allow the bad to thrive. On the level of Goral, there's no such thing as good and bad. Everything is. Everything is. Yes, Jay.
I'm having some problems with Achashverosh. And at one level, he's elevated a great deal, and he's a rather complex character, does some good things, does some bad things. And I don't know if you're going to get into this later more, but I mean, was Achashverosh amoral?
Okay, very good. Achashverosh, I glossed over this last week because I think if we do go deeper into it, we'll get stuck. But let me just say this. There is Achashverosh in this world, and there's the spiritual source of Achashverosh in the worlds above. It's hard to imagine, but the sweetness, it says in Kabbalah, that the sweetness of an apple comes from Chesed of Atzilut. If you go to Atzilut, I guarantee you're never going to find a piece of sugar there or an apple, sweet apple. Nothing like it. It's completely spiritual. It's one with Hashem. But everything goes down through a chain and transforms till it comes down to this world. When Hashem turned away, hid himself, created a certain amount of quiet, darkness, non-revelation. So in the spiritual worlds, it's just a question of less revelation of God's light. As that goes through the chain and changes and transforms, it comes into this world, into the anti-Semite Achashverosh, who was a horrible, terrible anti-Semite who hated the Jews as much as Haman hated them. The only difference was he was redeemable and he was able to change. Hashem, he was not the illogical hater like Haman was. Haman was like Amalek, was from the nation of Amalek, which irrationally hates Jews for no reason at all, and they can't reason with them. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do with Amalek is destroy them. Like we're going to read this week, Parshat Zachor, to remember that we always have to remember that Amalek has to be destroyed, because Amalek cannot be reasoned with, cannot be changed, cannot be transformed. So that's the difference between Haman and Achashverosh. But Achashverosh was also an anti-Semite. He did good because of the miracle. It was a miracle that he did good. And because when Mordechai explained to him, or Esther explained to him, that what he was doing was bad, he accepted it. Haman would never have accepted it. And that's another whole discussion. What is Haman and what is Amalek and why is it different than Achashverosh? But bottom line, the physical Achashverosh was a bad person who was forced to do good by the hand of Hashem, by the miracles, by Esther, by Mordechai. And that's why Mordechai remained in the government afterwards, even though his thing was studying Torah, because he was afraid. He knew he had to watch Achashverosh, because he was afraid Achashverosh could easily swing the pendulum again in the other direction. But the source of Achashverosh, where did Achashverosh come from? Where did he get his life from? His life came from God. And the fact that there could be such an evil person in this world came from the fact that on some level, good and evil are equal. Evil can get light also on some level. There's black and there's white. There's light and there's withholding of light. And again, I'm not going into it in the proper depth required because I want to focus on the idea of choice, the difference between lottery and choice, which I was going to get to now, Jane.
So,
Sydney, I don't know if I answered you, but maybe I didn't answer.
No, you did. That was good.
so the,
I'm sorry, Jane, can you say it again? I've lost you.
Oh, yeah, Linda had started to speak, but what I wanted to ask is, so just to clarify in my mind, you asked us, why did Hashem choose the Jewish people? And was the answer that it wasn't a choice, it was in the realm where there is no choice? Is that why you asked us that?
We're
And
getting to the answer. We're getting to the answer now. And we're going to talk about what true choice and why God made the choice. We're going to talk about that now.
okay,
That's what we're up to.
okay, thanks.
so
Okay,
I'm-
Linda.
I'm just a little, okay. It's about Haman. Why, how, I know I asked this before, but it doesn't seem to want to stick with me. How could he have known this information that isn't given to everybody about the level of
There are
go-
two answers to your question. One answer to your question is that Haman was a great theologian, a sorcerer, and had studied the Kabbalistic concepts. Remember that there are Eastern religions that have a lot of these concepts. They come
Yeah.
from Abraham. So, and there is impurity and there is sorcery that use the names of God. So it's possible that he did have some access to this knowledge. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that he himself didn't get all of this, but the reason he was able to get as far as he did in this world is because of the source of that level in the worlds above. And when the Jews,
is there
when the Jews turned away from Hashem, they unleashed this. They no longer were getting the direct light from Hashem, so they unleashed this level that doesn't differentiate between good and evil, and therefore Haman was able to try at least to come forward with his plan.
but it was God that did that, not Haman.
Yes,
God
but
did it through
yes,
Haman.
yes, Haman was, of course, everything that happens in the world happens because God does it.
And why?
But it was manifest in the world through Haman.
Yes, but
Because
why?
God created this evil Haman. Huh? Why?
What was
Because
the
the
lesson?
Jews.
What was the lesson to us? What was the lesson to us?
Mordechai said, "Don't go to the king's feast. Don't try and please the king. You have to follow the Torah and do what the Torah says. Don't try to follow the customs of the land. Don't try to assimilate into the country."
The Rabbi, is it not true then that it's
Go that path. Jews didn't listen; they went that path.
Mhm.
Became
Oops.
Can't hear you.
again.
Rabbi.
Please,
Yeah.
please repeat. I'm sorry. I missed half of that.
You have to repeat that. Oops, there you are. You have to repeat
Hear you,
because
Rabbi.
we lost part of you. Well,
Rabbi, can you hear me?
hmm.
Yes.
David, please repeat.
Oh, sure.
Now I can hear you.
Thank you.
Now I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm getting the impression that it's not Hashem that makes the decision, it's the Jewish people makes the decision as to what turns into good or bad. That's how a lottery would work. But I'll wait for your answer until tomorrow or the next day.
I think that once we get into the concept of choice, maybe it will answer your question.
Thanks.
Okay. But definitely Hashem responds to the way we behave. Hashem created the world in a way that how we behave is how Hashem responds. And that's why when we do a mitzvah, it does matter. As we're going to see, it does matter, absolutely matters whether we do a mitzvah or not. Let's go on here. V'hinei kamo shegoral hulamayla mehaseichel. Just as we said that the goral, the lottery, is above intellect, above logic, hulamayla gam meharatzon, and even above will, right? We said it's even above will because the will is subjected to the goral. Derech zeh, the same way also, hu b'nageh lebechira. It is also when it comes to choice. And here we get into what we started talking about before, the whole concept of choice, and we're going to talk about how Hashem chose the Jewish people. This, I want to tell you, that this concept that the Rebbe brings, there are books, literally of hundreds and hundreds of pages that discuss this concept. It's a very, very deep concept, and one that I can't say that I 100% understand logically because it's beyond logic, but we can get the words and we can understand. Choice is above intellect, even above will. And now we're going to see how that works. Why is it? Much deeper
Rabbi,
than
we're
we would
losing you.
otherwise think about it.
You're
You're going to lose
breaking up on us, Rabbi. We can't
keeps on
hear
going.
you.
What?
We can't hear you. You're breaking up on us.
I don't know what to do about that. 1 second. I do have an idea. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm in triplets on my phone. Let's see if this works. Okay.
Is that all the levels? Wait, is that all the levels?
No, you see, it's supposed to be that it shouldn't make any difference, right? Okay. All right. So, okay. Now, okay. Why do we say that choice is above intellect and above will? The kasher sichlo mechayev, when a person's intellect is mechayev, what's the good word for mechayev?
Required?
What was that?
Required?
Yeah,
Obligated?
no, not so much
Introduced?
required.
When,
I would say,
when intellect is introduced?
no. Michal, give me a good word. Mechayev. Sichlo mechayev. When my intellect drives me to make it, what is it?
No, I don't have. I'm sorry.
What was the word you used, Yitzchak? I think that's the best word so far.
Obligates or requires.
Obligates. When my intellect, not obligates, forces the idea, pushes me to decide, to understand. When my intellect, my understanding drives me, that this thing is appropriate to choose. Also, if someone wants something, even if I don't have a good reason for it, I just want it, which is the will that's above intellect. So I'm being pushed in that direction. either because intellectually it makes sense, or because I want it. So I want it, so therefore I'm being pushed in it. So I like vanilla. I don't like chocolate. So therefore I'm getting the vanilla. I cannot explain to you why I like vanilla better than chocolate. There's no logical explanation why I like vanilla. As a matter of fact, in my personal estimation, someone who likes vanilla better than chocolate doesn't know what they're doing. That's my personal feeling. But you like vanilla. But why are you buying vanilla ice cream? Because you like vanilla. You want vanilla. That is not true free choice. Free choice. True choice is that's when the choice is not because of intellect. Also not even because of the will. Just because I choose it. I choose it, that's it. Can't explain it, don't need to explain it, don't have any explanation. I chose it. So now, let's stop there for a minute. We have two things that both are beyond logic and beyond the will. We said lottery is not a logical thing because they're both the same. It's above the will because it creates the will. We've submitted our will to the lottery. We said the same thing about choice. True choice means it's not about I understand better. It's not even I want it more. True choice is above both of those. So now what's the difference between these two?
Nothing.
Aha. There is a difference, it says now in Chassidus, splits hairs. Not only do we split hairs, we split the split hairs. And that's what we're doing. We're splitting the split hairs. The difference between the lottery and the choices. When a person draws lots, makes a lottery, and decides that the way that the lottery will come out, that's how his will be. What is driving the will? What creates the will? Well, we just said the lottery. What creates, we said it's above the will. I've submitted my will to the lottery. Whatever the lottery draws, that's what I will want. What is creating my will?
God.
Let's leave God out of it for a minute. Let's talk about it on a practical level, a human level. What is driving my will? What is creating my will?
The lottery.
The lottery. The lottery, not me. I've submitted my will to the lottery, something outside of myself. The lottery means I don't have any say in this. I don't have any will. My will is going to be created by whatever the lottery decides. What does choice mean when I make a choice? The person chooses. I chose this car over that car. Why? Don't know. I chose it. We're going to go now to another level of what choice really means. If you're just choosing something arbitrarily for no reason, that's one thing. But we're soon going to see the level of the true ultimate choice. And that's what I think, Jane, you said it. The ultimate choice is that it's me. The choice is because it's me. From this we understand. The Bechira, that choice, Hilamayla Megoral, is above lottery. Why? The Goral, when we talk about lottery, again, we're talking about mystical concepts. We're using terms that are referring to spiritual levels. In the soul and in godliness. In the soul, the lottery Huadarga benefesh, that is the level in the soul. Shehi mudgeret umuchrachat bazeh. It is limited, it's forced, that Shnei Hadvarim Heim Shavim Lagaba. These two things are equal. I have no choice over them. These two things are equal. I can't make a decision. I can't make a choice. I don't want this one over that one. They are both equal. Can you still see me and hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're both equal. The only thing is, and therefore, because they're both equal, I have no choice. What am I going to do? I have no choice. I'm going to give it to a lottery and let the lottery make the decision. That means there's no choice on my part here at all. The choice is coming purely from the lottery. It's not being shown, but I'm going to, I've shared it, but I guess it'll take another minute till it shares.
So is choice and will interchangeable then?
Choice and what?
Choice and will?
No, not at all. And that will say here. Here we go again. Will is below it, below choice. Here, let's finish this thought. The inyan habchirahu. What is choice? Choice is she'eino mugdar u'mukhrach ba'eze dvarim. Nothing. I'm not limited. I'm not forced to anything. Kolel dvarim shavim legabe. Including the fact two things that are equal to me. Nothing forces me to do one or the other. Not a lottery, not nothing. I can choose any one of them. It is purely my own choice. I once heard a very good definition of choice. When you choose to do something, you know how many times people say, they ask, why did you do this? I did it because this person forced me and this person forced me and I had this problem and that problem. The bottom line is when you choose to do something, no matter what led you to that choice, the moment you made the choice, you own the choice because you made the choice. And that's really ultimately what choice is about. I made the choice because I made the choice. It was just me. My essence, I made. And now, in the next section, the Rebbe is going to talk about how this level of choice actually, when we have a gorel, when we have a lottery, the truth is we choose to give up our choice to the gorel. But then there's a level of choice that is even higher that we hold on to that. We hold on to the choice. We don't give up the choice for anything. And this is one more level of complication that we're going to go in. And if you want to spend another 15 minutes, if you're game, we can go to the next level of complication. Everyone okay with that? Another 15 minutes? Jane.
I'm sorry, I have another class that starts at 7:30.
All right, go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to, though, continue, and I'll talk to Jane privately about it. The Shlomar, so we can now explain. There are two aspects to choice. Hadarga de nefesh shalamayla miseichel. There is the soul that is above intellect. Shalagaba, on that level, shnei hadvarim heim b'shaveh. Both things are equal. Dargat hagoral, that's the lottery. Everything is equal, and I don't know how to make a choice, and therefore I'm going to allow the lottery to make the choice for me. The higher level of choice is even higher than that, where I am choosing as I want to choose. And this comes from the essence of my soul. Yes, they're both exactly equal. Yes, they're both exactly the same. but I'm holding on to that control, and my essence of my soul is taking control, and I'm going to choose this one. Why? Because that's what my soul chose. Because I'm drawn, it's me. That's me. Through choice, ha'amshacha me'ha'etzem lahadarga de goral, gam hagoral hu kafi ha'bechira. 1 second, Shoshana Chaim. When you have that level of choice, where you're keeping control over the choice, one step down from that level is the goral, is the lottery. So what we're saying is there is the level that is called lottery, which means everything is equal and I can't make a choice. And therefore I'm going to let the lottery choose. There's a level above that which says the essence of my soul is going to choose this. What we're saying is that when you have that level of connection to your essence, where your essence makes the choice, then if there is a goal, if there's a lottery, the lottery is driven by your choice. The decision, it's not just a decision to give up my choice, my decision to the lottery. I'm saying I'm going to make a lottery, but I want my lottery, the lottery to come out this way. Yes, on the step down, it doesn't make a difference. They're both exactly the same. But you know what? My essence wants this one, so I'm going to make sure that the lottery comes out that way. I don't know how that reflects on the recent elections, but that's we're not going to go there. Okay, Shoshana Chaya.
Thanks, Rabbi. My question was, if the alternatives you're choosing between are already predetermined, can it really be said that you're making a true choice? I mean, wouldn't true choice be choosing completely out of nothing? It would have to be creative.
So this is the chiddush. This is what's new in this mimer. And this is why we're learning this mimer. This mimer has a concept that was in the Rebbe introduced in this mimer. And it's a well-known mimer because of this discussion of what the ultimate choice is. Yes, when we talk about choice, usually means they're all the same, equal, and I just choose. What the Rebbe is saying is there's a level of choice above that that does come and is connected to the essence of the soul. Why did I choose it? I can't explain it. It's beyond logic. They are both the same, but my soul chose it. I didn't give it up. My soul chose it. So we're not saying that choice really means that I have nothing to do with the choice. Choice really means that indeed they both could be, I could have chosen either one of them. But my soul chose this one. This one is the one that my soul wants. Connected, not even once. This is the one that's one with my soul. This is the one my soul needs. I'm going to go on a little bit and then we can stop and talk about it. Well, there's a verse that says, Atatomech Garal. You support, there's a verse that says, you support my Goral, my lot. Kadosh Baruch Hu Tomech es HaGoral K'sheyeh Kafi B'chira Ha'atzmos. That means that God, and this also, by the way, is a regular verse in Tehillim, which when we read it, we say, oh, you support my lot, meaning Hashem gives me what I need. But when you look at it according to Chassidus, through the eyes of this mimer, again, it's another example of where it comes to a whole new light. Hashem supports the lottery, that Hashem supports to make sure that the lottery comes out my way, the way that God has chosen. I'm going a little fast through this because I'm just going to explain it. It says God will choose our inheritance. There's Gaon Yaakov, the strength of Jacob. It says about Yaakov Chevel Nachalasai. So it says about Yaakov that Yaakov is the Chevel. Onkelos translates Yaakov is the choice, the lottery is the lottery of Hashem's inheritance. So what does it mean? Hashem chooses our strength. Coming back to the discussion now. Shagam b'dargat hagoral shelamayla me'ishtalshnos, that the goral that is above, even on the level of goral, which is above all of creation, Shakol shavim sham. Everything is equal there. Habchira b'Yisrael dafka. God chose the Jewish people. In other words, God's choice of the Jewish people is because we are connected to the essence of God. And therefore, God made sure that the Goral, that the lottery, would come out the way God chose it should come out. And that's why Haman, when he made his Goral, his lottery came out in the month of Adar, because the month of Adar is the month that Moshe was born. He thought it was Moshe died then, but he didn't realize Moshe was born then. So therefore, Hashem made sure that the Goral, yes, Haman was reaching that level above where everything is all the same, but he didn't count on one thing. He didn't count on the fact that Hashem chose the Jewish people, even though everything else is equal. Hashem, they could not be that the Jewish people shouldn't exist, because Hashem chose the Jewish people. And since Hashem chose the Jewish people, therefore the Goral had to come out in a way that it was positive for the Jews. And next week we'll conclude the mimer, and we will reiterate this, and we'll show that's why the name of the holiday is Purim, because it turns out that the whole thing was orchestrated. The lottery was orchestrated. Haman decided that he wanted to destroy the Jews, and you know what? If you went by natural means, so to speak, Haman should have been able to be successful. But Hashem orchestrated it that even the Goral level was also decided by Hashem, because Hashem chose the Jewish people. That's what we'll conclude Bezrat Hashem next week. I have to say that the mimer, I'm looking for the mimer for Pesach. I'm going to choose something that's a little bit not as high up there, a little bit more down to earth, so that we can relate to it a little more. But this, I'm hoping that I haven't lost you. I'm hoping you're still around, and that your choice to study this mimer is turning out to be the right one.
This just takes some time to think about before it really sinks in, but the fact that you're continually saying it and repeating it and giving us ideas about it helps to see what's going on.
Right. So my goal next week is we don't have that much to do. I left only a shorter amount next week. So next week we'll kind of conclude the mimer and then have a chance to discuss it and go through it and talk about it. Bezrat Hashem.
So, Rabbi, does discovering the essence, when someone connects or discovers, I don't know how you do this, but the essence of their soul, is that the same thing as connecting to God?
Yes, because ultimately the essence of the Jewish soul is a part of God. And that's why God chose the Jewish people, because they're part of Him. The essence of the neshama is a part of Hashem. And that's, by the way, it's not possible for a Jew to separate from Hashem. Even, God forbid, a Jew goes far away from Jewish observance, that spark of the essence of the soul that is above everything is one with Hashem, and that's why Hashem chooses us, and that's why we can't be separated from Him. That's why the world cannot exist without the Jewish people, and that's why the Jewish people cannot exist without Hashem, ultimately.
So the question...
What was that?
The question of actually connecting to the essence of our soul is moot, because it's just there.
The question, it's there, but the question is, to what extent do I feel it? So that's the whole point. And that we're going to talk about next week. What happened? How was Haman initially seemingly successful? And then all of a sudden everything switched around and he failed. Because the Jews reconnected, the Jews chose Hashem, Hashem chose us. In other words, the choice of the Jewish people is always there. But because Hashem responds to us, when we choose Hashem, that reveals God's choice. The choice is always there, but it doesn't come into the world. Remember, all this is above the world. The way it comes into the world is through Mesirat Nefesh, through self-sacrifice. That's what reveals that. So me, I can go through life not even knowing that I'm God's chosen person. I can go through life, God forbid, not doing any mitzvahs. But that doesn't mean in any way that I'm not connected to Hashem, but it also doesn't mean that my life is being lived with Hashem. in my day-to-day life, Hashem is not visible. And we want to bring it into our lives. Because you know what? It's not enough to have it in the source. You have to have it right here. If I tell you, I have a huge treasure for you, but you know where it is? It's up in the sky. It's up in the sky. It's hanging there in the sky above. It's orbiting around the world, and you don't have a rocket to get there. What's the use of it? It's there. You want it to come down, and you have it, and you'll be able to spend it. So to have it up there, it's good, and that's why we're able to connect back to Hashem, even if we've been far away. But if it's up there, it's not here. It's not affecting us. And the whole point of being in the physical world is to transform the physical world. So therefore, we have to bring it into our daily lives. And every time we do a mitzvah, because it's Hashem's will, we're suffusing the entire world with God's will. Bring it down all the way down to the physical. We learned that in the previous Maimon. All right, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
You're welcome. My pleasure. So hopefully by next week, we'll have the technology fixed.
Yes. Good night. Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.